LOL take two. LOL take two. LOL take two. Now listen. I remember a decade and a half ago when Lin-Manuel Miranda, the creator and star of Hamilton, had his first big hit show, In the Heights, and everybody was going on about how it was the first rap musical on Broadway. I loved the show, but I beg to differ. I don't know if it was the first rap musical on Broadway, because another big hit show that opened in 1957 had to have been the first, if not one of the first rap musicals. Of course, I'm talking about The Music Man. And when you grow up in Iowa, especially in my household, The Music Man was required learning. Like British children learn Shakespeare, European children learn a second language, or American children learn about Duck Dynasty and Honey Boo Boo. Anybody in our household could hear the cue. Friends, either you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you were not aware of the caliber of disaster indicated by the presence of a pool table in your community. And from a very early age, I just knew the next line was, well, you got trouble. My family could rap and would sing the entire album with very little prompting. Before his voice changed, my cousin Mark could even sing the song Being in Love that Shirley Jones sang in the movie, in her key. We would be at my Grandma May's house, everybody washing and drying dishes after a meal, and someone would start You Got Trouble, and the whole family would join in. Mom, Uncle Tom, Papa Lloyd, and, of course, little Tony. You got trouble, folks, right here in River City. Trouble with a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. I suppose I related to Harold Hill because my dad was a traveling salesman for many years while I was growing up. I could always tell his salesman friends even before I knew they were salesmen. The dress shirt salesman, the belt and billfold salesman, and the jockey underwear salesman, they had a certain congeniality about them. And that was probably fueled by a certain underlying desperation because, well, frankly, they wanted your business. In The Music Man, Meredith Willson just nails these guys. He's a fake and he doesn't know the territory. Look, what do you talk? What do you talk? What do you talk? And these guys just love to talk. I find the same is true with actors and people in show business, but of course it makes perfect sense. Actors are selling as well, only we are the dress shirts, the belts and billfolds, and the jockey underwear. So actually, being the product you're selling can unfortunately raise the desperation level and thus the what do you talk level. Let's face it, everybody needs underwear. But an interesting thing I've discovered during this crazy crap show odometer turning year that is 2020, we are finding that folks need artists too. Good salesmanship usually skips down the road with good marketing. Now, I don't know what age I was, but I was certainly old enough to know better. On a spring day in April, I assembled the neighborhood kids to march around the tract homes of Urbandale, Iowa, screaming at the top of their lungs over and over, "Guess what today is? Tony's birthday!" I know this to be true. It has been corroborated by numerous individuals, my parents and various neighbors. Robbie, do you know what Tony has my kids out doing? It's so embarrassing in hindsight, but how many of us check our Facebook pages a lot on our birthdays for well wishes and remember those who didn't wish us a happy birthday when their birthday pops up? I like having a birthday in spring. Spring is a fresh start, a new trip around the sun. I have my list of spring albums, and one of my first was the Partridge Family Up-to-Date album, which came out just before my 8th birthday. Our home movies from that year show me in my multicolored plaid polyester Brady Bunch outfit, unwrapping and holding up that record. And David Cassidy couldn't have been more adorable on it. And his birthday was only 2 days after mine. I knew that if we ever met, David and I would have been the best of friends. Just a couple of years later, David was trying to break his squeaky clean Partridge Family image, and he posed naked in Rolling Stone magazine. I remember my father saying to me, "Did you see what that David Cassidy did? Posing naked for Rolling Stone?" I tell ya. I feigned concern. He did, really? My phony judgment was a big act because, I'll admit it, I'm not proud. My eyes lit up. But I never could find a store that had a copy I could look at. I finally saw that Rolling Stone magazine with David Cassidy naked. Oh, please. Big deal. You didn't see anything. All you saw was that David seriously needed some manscaping and possibly a bikini wax. That 8th birthday was also the first of several birthdays made memorable due to wacky external life circumstances. We were living in Keokuk, Iowa, also mentioned in The Music Man, spooky, in this very cool rental house that had been built in 1870 on the bluffs overlooking the Mississippi River. Lock and Dam number 19 were the big attractions at that point in the river where Iowa met Illinois and Missouri. A couple of days before my birthday, there was a huge boom. A towboat named Linda and her 10 barges heading to St. Louis rammed into a concrete icebreaker, breaking up the barges, puncturing holes in 2 of them, and stopping all river traffic for several days. This was some major drama for a small town. Then 2 years later, we were living in Urbandale, Iowa, and my 10th birthday was shuttered due to the blizzard of 1973, the worst April blizzard on record, ever. We got 14 inches of snow in a day and a half, and the 65-mile-an-hour winds caused 16 feet snowdrifts, which closed most roads in the state. Our world had shut down, but more importantly, my birthday was adversely affected. One neighbor had a snowmobile and used that to get supplies at the one open grocery store. My mom made these incredible cinnamon rolls from scratch, and the neighbors were all bartering and trading things to keep their families fed while we were stuck inside. My mom began trading her fabulous cinnamon rolls with the neighbors. Not for milk for her children, but for cigarettes. For her. I mean, she had her priorities. Over the ensuing decades, I've had other odd birthdays, but I must admit that this year, 2020, the year of the plague, was certainly one for the record books. Thankfully, I work a job that saw what was coming and planned for worst case, which, of course, is what happened. We began working from home before St. Patrick's Day, and because we were in IT, we were swamped busy. And talk about a good time to be in technology. The safer at home orders came shortly thereafter, and Bill, our white boxer Roxy, and I began our quarantine with me working Monday through Friday. I'll be honest, Bill's retired. We have a small house. How is that going to work with my being underfoot and in each other's hair 24/7? I was a little worried. I sat at my workspace on the pass-through bar during the work week, which meant eating at the dining room table nightly. And we added cloth napkins, music playing, and candles. Very poshy. We both started being diligent about taking walks, mostly separately just to have some alone time. And you know what? It has not been bad. At all. Oh, one night I had to put my foot down about this documentary Bill had DVR'd about the pandemic's origins from the Wuhan market, and they showed dogs and bats in cages. I said, no, turn it off. I can't watch this while we're still in quarantine. That's like Anne Frank watching a documentary about the Holocaust while she was still hiding out in the attic. No, can't do it. This whole quarantine thing reminds me of one of my favorite books as a kid. Little House in the Big Woods by Ingalls Wilder. And my grandma May had grown up in the prairies of Nebraska and had even taught in a one-room schoolhouse, so I always felt somehow connected to those stories. The Big Woods book was the first one in the series and showed the solitary lives the Ingalls family lived in their log cabin in the Big Woods near Pepin, Wisconsin. In later books, they did the whole covered wagon thing and lived in little towns, and Laura was courting Almanzo, whatever. But I love the Big Woods book the best. It was more the day-to-day details of how this family survived, all alone, basically quarantined in the middle of nowhere. The kids made do. Ma cooked for everybody, and they cut their own hair, and at night Pa played the fiddle, and they enjoyed each other's company. And can you imagine if Little House in the Big Woods took place in 2020? Mary would have been sewing medical-grade masks using leftover calico fabric Ma had in her sewing box. Laura would be posting Facebook and Instagram pictures of baby Carrie wearing those masks. They'd be having Zoom meetings with their cousins, Alice, Ella, that little wretched brat Peter, and the baby, Dolly Barden. And, of course, trying to keep those little monsters occupied would have driven Ma to day drinking. Apparently, we are looking at several more months of safer at home, and you know what? I'm fine with it. Bill gave me a very good haircut in the backyard. After much cajoling, he let me cut his hair, and it didn't look too bad either. Well, the front didn't look too bad. We have several friends who got coronavirus, and it's horrible. You do not want to get it. If we have to go out, we are heavily masked and gloved and basically look like Michael Jackson impersonators, and I don't care. Like the Ingalls family all alone in the big woods, we are living in our own little house in the big city, and we will stay hunkered down for as long as we need to, and continue having very civilized dinners in the dining room. Roxy, of course, thinks the pandemic is the best thing ever. I've gone through some bizarre times as an adult, but this truly is one of the weirdest and scariest. But on the plus side, it's been kind of a reset for mankind. It's like Mother Nature gave humanity a big old kick in the rear. The air in Los Angeles is cleared. Animals have returned to their natural habitats. I find that during this time when everything has been shut down, who have people been turning to besides medical personnel, grocery workers, and Amazon delivery people? Artists, musicians, storytellers. Musicians are doing live concerts from their living rooms via the internet. Patrick Stewart is reading The World, a Shakespeare sonnet a day. Broadway performers did a virtual birthday celebration to Sondheim while in quarantine. We artists seem to be essential services for mankind's soul. And as I putter around my little backyard, enjoy a lovely spring day in an otherwise insane world, I find myself jumping into You Got Trouble from the Music Man, with a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pandemic. LOL take two, LOL take two, LOL take two, ba 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 bum.